Ooh, what a tricky finish. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. We're taking a look at match 6 of round 2 of D.LEAGUE. It is SEGA SAMMY LUX versus SEPTENI RAPTURES. So far this round has been wild, as all of the performances have been, and I expect this one to be totally on par with that, and it's gonna be really fun. Not only am I looking at the matches and doing an analysis, I'm taking a guess of who I think won too. First round, I just let the judges do their voting and whatever, and I knew who won what before I even watched it. Here, I'm looking, I'm analyzing, and I'm taking my pick of who I think the audience chose, as well as who I think the judges chose too. And so far, out of all of the rounds, so far I've gotten all the audience votes right, and I got 5 out of 6 judges votes right as well. That first round, I was pretty off, but it was pretty close nonetheless. We're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna get started. Let's do it. That's a cool fit. Ooh. Nice. I felt like that was supposed to be symmetrical. Nice. Good chance there's a lot of wordplay involved in this too. Ooh, that's impressive with the dive rolls on that. I feel like we missed some information because of the camera shot for us. Woo! We lost our hat. I don't know if that was intentional. It works though because he's our front feature, so maybe that was intentional. There we go. Okay, cool, cool. I'm gonna assume yes. Ooh, what a tricky finish. I don't think people really understand how tricky a finish like that is, to jump, do a full 360, and then land like that. Whew. Very, very impressive from the top. This may come down to preference, I don't know. Because if SEPTENI doesn't do anything that like really, if they do something similar to this, maybe not in concept, but in just justification of movement, it's going to be a preference thing, I think. Because concept, I mean, I don't mind it. I think it matched the track pretty well. Outfits, I don't know what they were trying to pay ode to. Totally fine though. I like the fit, not gonna lie. Honestly, it reminds me of, you ever see those memes whenever it's like whenever we didn't discuss the dress code and like somebody dresses up like in sweats and then somebody like really goes for it in fashion? That's what this gives me. And I love it though. I love it. I love the energy of the pool here. This was such a freaking great moment because normally when you see, it just feels like a reflection, and I think they really wanted to exude that, and they freaking did. I love the pool, and he pushed the energy out, and it looks like we're watching a projection of whoever's on the bench. I think that's so sick. And they have to be on top of it, too. They have to be very clean. Part of me, I mean, feels that if it was mirrored, it would feel like a true reflection, but because they're doing the same thing, does not bother me at all. It feels like we have triple vision, I think is another way we can look at it. I love the pull, boom, and then a boom, and then they dropped it a little bit lower. I love that. Pulling it through, little Michael influence, dropping it down. Notice our feature helped us signal over to our next group. Lighting also helps with this. My note too will be, I know where we have features. I think having something happening back here could help with the overall essence and presence, even though we're not really seeing them. I think it would just feel more like it's a group choreography, not just a bunch of duos and trios, you know. And I feel, honestly, it just kind of depends on the concept, and sometimes it works for you that week and sometimes it doesn't. Just depends on your judges and their judging experience and their preference and how you choose to exude the track through musicality, through formations, levels, spacing, and staging. I like how we built this and we're traveling it over. They're doing slightly different things, so we can really see that they are two solid groups. Having somebody here peeling it down, boom, 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 boom. Having somebody frame it from the back. I really love that choice. Great choice of levels. That boom, boom. Notice the back guy really chose to go a little bit more full than the one on the bench. I would say just refine that, making sure it's the exact same, because one of them went a little bit more full. Sliding it down. I love how we ended up finishing with the pull from the same side. Super nice to see. Personally, for me, out of all the camera shots we have seen from all the matches, I think this is my least favorite because I feel like we actually missed important information by them panning so closely. Like, we're missing what's happening outside of the realm, and I get it, trust me. This one just feels more obvious. I think there was just one obvious cut where there's nothing happening, but there was obviously something else happening somewhere else, and we just didn't get to see it as an audience. So that's just my one note. Oh, that's boom and boom da-da. They come up. That right there was nice to have a moment. The fact that they are so solid every time they're on this bench is so impressive. That is really, really hard to do. So I love that. This was my note. I do feel like maybe they did a backwards roll a little too far this direction. This one felt like a true diagonal. So that would just be my overall note. We did end up in a proper spaced diagonals on both sides. So I think it was just the transition itself. Could have been, I think he was just a little off there. That D with the speed change nice and slow. Nice framing, and then we black out over to a next feature. I love that boom, 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 having it bleed up, lighting comes up. The stability on this is really nice. I love how we go do-do-do and drop the bass down with one of the legs raised entirely. It was super dope. That do-do-do-do-do, bringing it up, bringing it through, sliding it down. Love that. Ding, 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 ding. Love this here, bringing it through. Super fun. Yeah, just that was a nice moment of having it bring all the way around, but everyone doing the same thing. Super fun. It's nice, of course. I do feel like a lot of this is catering to the words, so I can't speak too much onto that. But I do like the energy of this. I feel like the spacing, however, that I think they set up, I understand why they're setting up behind the bench. It just feels like we have quite too big of a gap here, or maybe they needed to set this formation up a little bit further back, so it's a true space in between these. Whoa, that's not a correct line at all. It needs to be more here. But notice there's just a little baby gap. But because it's symmetrical on both sides, it feels more intentional. So that's why it's not even, I don't think, going to be an issue. Dropping out and June wingspan. I love the transition on that where they switch between their individual partnerships. That was fun. Then everybody sitting on the bench, waving it out with the leg extension, having one person featured. But you notice here, though, that not everybody was on the same page. Notice that some were already coming up when the others were finishing coming down, so that's a range thing to be fixed. I like having this moment here. Reset dive rolls. Their setups were just slightly different, but I really liked how they finished it, though, into a CC, and they come across. This moment here, we are having a lot of spotlight moments, which I feel in this league can work against you. I would say in general, to each their own. It doesn't bother me as long as it makes sense. So for me, I get why they chose to do it. Do I feel like it can take away from the overall complexity of what the group has to offer? Yes, because it's just eating up time. The more we just have one person in the spotlight, the more we just have one or two people in the spotlight, it takes away from what we can do and use with everybody. I think a great example of everybody being used even when you have obvious features would be from Katakawa Dreams' set from this round. I'm still affected by that set, and I think it's just because it's right in my wheelhouse of how I would interpret the track, but they do it on such an elite level of cohesion as a group that it was one of the most beautiful representations of something that I am familiar with, but I got to see such beauty and art in. But that was a really great example of kind of the idealistic way of using your full group without having anything take away. There's also a chance that this could be the shot that I'm talking about where we have this moment and they're sitting here and they're having this moment here. It feels like we got caught right in the middle of it, and I didn't get to see how they set it up. So it really could very easily be he's having this moment. They're supposed to be justifying choreo here, but we didn't get to see it. So we're going to chalk it up to that. sliding it through. I love this energy, boom, 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 and then we go, we peel, they switch, boom, boom. Notice there's a lot of like kind of gear changes where they're using their body to help create more, not ticking, I would say like a dime stop geometric Tetris grid. I would say like a dime stop grid vibes. And I really like that with the ISOs. I love how they chose their arm to swing them up, then having the front to mid to back, then the switching lines. I love this energy. They drop, switching it through, boom, and then we have just that dynamic of some high, some low. Love that. Everybody driving forward, bring it away. Nice to have your feature integrated and then your feature responding with everybody. It was a really cool choice. Very clean. I honestly like this part of the song a lot. I love the lighting here. This is a great example of what I'm talking about, the reach. They are very purposeful in their hold, and notice, I feel we're here, if we had a sense of they're constantly moving towards him, I think that would have really felt like a positive magnet because we could still see them and we would still feel that there's presence and intentionality behind them. So that would be my note to them there. Switching it down. I love that. That's what I'm talking about. You notice how we have this little bleed over into the next phrase? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I love that. Him having this very stable. They're so stable on their stuff. It's so nice to see. I love how he's having this moment with the basses that and how he's building off of each other, boom, creating that tension. Everybody responds out of that. That's super dope. Love it. With the vibrations. Love seeing that. He throws his hat. That was intentional. I thought his hat was just, just fell off. I didn't, but now I see it was not the case. Love it. The turn was super nice. It's because the hat fell back there. I thought because of the turn, it was all circumstantial. Very nice to see. I love this pull in of energy, and I love how he built it out. Boom, grabs energy from one side, brings it over to the other side. I love this puppeting here. Not a puppeting from popping, but just that marionette, like controlling people. God, I love this section. This looks so cool because he takes it from here, brings it over to stage right, then kills it over in stage left. Then he pulls everybody around. Oh, so good. I appreciate the fact that they kept him center and the feature for all of this. Sometimes, I think I noticed it in Street Dance Girl Fight. I remember they're teenagers during that show. So we're not going to chalk it up. It's not the same thing as a professional dance league. We know this. But they did a situation where there was a jacket used in one of their sets, but the dancer that they took the jacket from, they didn't keep in the center or in near the center, and it really threw off the symmetry of the formation because of that drastic costume change. So for this, he is the only one who does not have a hat, and this hat is a very flamboyant type of furry hat. So it's not something that can just be easily overlooked. It's a very drastic difference in head shape by not having the hat on. So they did a really wonderful job of keeping him center in a moment every time, building up the energy, matching that tone beautifully. They're all screaming to him. It's so fun. They pull it. Not fun that they're screaming at him, but the concept in general is cool. The flip to the drop, really nice. For me, I could have called that a minor fall, but because of the stability and how he finished it, I'm going to assume that was just that he needed to get really low for this jump to happen, and I think that's fine. They all threw it down. They all have our moment. Great unison, and I love the fact that we're using these props as much as we are because that's creating, look, a natural level change where everybody is doing unison, but we're seeing levels represented. I love seeing that. Sliding it through, boom, boom. Love that with the crossover, throwing the energy with the bases. Digging the energy in, having people walk. Whoa, got too excited. Moving the bench more forward. Really, really great on their end because the guys near the front that are going to end up reacting to the bench, they are not seeing where that bench is. Well, technically, yes, he gets to see it there. That cheater. I was just going to say that would have looked really cool if he didn't, if he didn't see it and then just went into this. Very risky, but he looked, he double checked, love that. But he just did like a full 360 and then he stood on it. That's so impressive. And then they all slowly walk from the outside. I really like that. That was cool. It makes me so curious what SEPTENI Raptures is going to bring because I can't make my guess until after I see them. So let's go ahead and check it out. Ooh. Excuse me. Oh. Yep. Nice. Oh, stability thing right there. Love that choice. Was cool. Nice. Okay. That was really enjoyable. It really was very enjoyable to see. Okay, do I think audience is going to give them the vote? I don't think so. My gut tells me Sega Sammy is going to get the audience vote. But let's take a look through. Also, part of me feels that there's a chance that Sega Sammy's going to win. Because they did have, I think they had significantly more complexity in some of their progressions. But I think the last judge is going to vote for SEPTENI Raptures because of their concept. I'm even going to make that vote. Hold on, I got to little pencil that in before we actually talk about this. So I think audience got a Sega Sammy. I think Sega Sammy took it. It's not going to be a shutout. I think SEPTENI's getting the last judge. Because she was the one, I remember, who was it? Full alt rhythm. It was like a 5-0 victory for her vote to Live Full compared to Cyber Agent. Cyber Agent got everybody else. I think it's going to be a similar situation, potentially. Not saying that their set was bad, not at all. Every single set I've seen from this league is phenomenal. And it's such an honor for me to even be able to talk about what makes it so cool. I love it. I freaking love this stuff. The energy of the tension of the red in the light is really cool. Having the reverbs happening, I really do appreciate that there's something going on even in the darkness. It could be a preference thing, or it could be you're actually utilizing all your dancers to the fullest capacity. And I think there's beauty to be said about that. And there's a level of complexity and captivation and performance demand and creative stamina that is in play whenever you choose to do that too. The peel out, this was a really sick lighting change. So kudos to them for getting the lighting right, because the lighting's pre-programmed. I'm going to tell you that right now. The more high-tech your lighting is, the more pre-programmed it's going to be. The lighting, they're not adjusting the lighting for this based on how they're moving. They have to make sure they're in the right spot for their lighting. So that was really good job on that part for this section. Of course, we did more of the draping over, and they come down and up, and I love this energy. How they set this up is super nice. Honestly, I think they had one heck of an amazing start. Just the filthiness of some of the legato and grunginess of the groove was just brilliant here. Love the costuming on this too. Sliding it in, boom, doom, doom, doom. Love the basses there. Swinging it through, boom, and they're choosing here to go in that boom to really slide that fabric off. That notice that they bled it up a little bit more to hit that sound a little bit better. That boom, 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 and then they go down. Boom. Honestly, too, some of them are choosing to go more forward versus to the side. My gut's telling me they were supposed to go to the side as they come up, just like our center. But I would say our guy over here, he went more front. So I think that affects the overall tone of the unison section because not everybody's on the same page on that. Swinging it around, boom, through, shooting it through. So I also think some of their movement may be a little loud or a little bit off in comparison to some of the timbre they're hitting, potentially. I would say in the beginning, that and then that bleed through travel was great, but I think that fullness on that because it's more of a falsetto, it's more of an intimate tone. That's why it felt very full, like it was a chest tone versus a head tone. I think that's where I was coming from with that, but honestly, it was such a minor thing, it didn't bother me. I love building the energy on this. Sliding it through. They take their pants to transition. I love that. Building up the energy. Love the levels where you have your two a little bit lower than your midline. The midline staying in the mid, which I like. I love that. Bunta. Really nice. Notice on that doom, doom, doom. Nice. I did like that. Yeah, even there. Notice it's just... And you have that doom, 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 doom. All of that happening. A lot of their movements feels doom. It like crashes would justify the movement loudness more so than the timbre that we're getting here. And I think I think the musicality is slightly off in general. I know what they're hitting, but that's half the battle, is your timing on what layer you're hitting. It's how your movement is tailoring to the music itself. I think that's the biggest disconnect. I think that's happening through some of the movement. Not all, some of it is too loud for the track that they're justifying. It's right here with the bass, with the lower half, that's totally fine. I really like their choice of rolling on the floor and like rolling through the stomach to transition up. That doom, 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 really nice, and having this reverb was a really fun choice. I liked that a lot. Do 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 do, and they pull it. Love it. I love her energy there. Really nice, subtle, carries it well. Her pull of energy, projecting her. Love that. Great lighting change. Peeling it through. Love having her 3 up. Everybody else rolling on the floor. They're more like in a log position versus having it more fetal or intimate, closer together. I do like the choice that they made here. I like the slow walk with the build out, boom, boom, boom. But notice not everybody's giving the same amount of energy in the performance in the upper body in comparison to those that are going on the floor or lower in the level. So I think just a head clarification would really help with this too. Doesn't it also, it kind of also feels like we have the same people in the middle, like we're not having as big of a variety. And because this isn't a feature focused type of routine like we've seen from other cases, like I think it was Full Cast Risers had one feature that was in all white and everybody else had that black accent in their outfits. That makes more sense to have your feature in the center. And also with who we just saw, SEGA Sammy, they had somebody with no hat near that tail end. It was important that he stayed in the center and not go to the side unless there was a moment justifying that choice. And they did that. So here we do tend to see the same kind of person in the center. That is, I'm assuming that could be the director of the group, and I think that's fine. But notice right here, he's gonna really struggle to stay on his leg, and you're gonna see that in a second. Look, yep, right there. And then he goes right up. That was a super sick choice, though. I love that, and then they drop down. I love the bleeding and the energy coming up. So that's something that I wish SEGA Sammy did, which is what they're doing, which is bleeding through the movements to help justify other layers in the track while they're able to have their feature moment. I love that. The switch through, I love that ding, 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 reach out, which is cool. They're all bleeding through. Then we have something set up in the back. I do feel like that can contribute, make this feel a little bit more muddled in the center because we have such a clump, and then we have a group of 3, and then we have a group of 2, and the 2 is the ones that are justifying a feature. Then you have your 3 that are moving kind of that slow motion sense to help frame that, but then we have something stagnant in the back. So, I mean, I feel like it could just be a camera angle thing that we're getting too. This right here, I really like the waving choice that he chose to do. It's nice, but it did feel like that second one was cut off ever so slightly. I like the choice of having the 3 meet the energy of what's happening up top. And I do like the lower level near the front, matching more the energy of those that are holding our feature in the top. Great usage of levels. Great, great, great on that. Nice, and then boom, boom, I love the different head choices on that. That was super nice. And then some of them choosing to use the knees a little bit more for that section was super dope. So this section looks really cool. That little there, and then we have a big extroversion of energy. Of course, usage of having your 3 in the back with that yellow light really helps, and then those near the front catering to a different level or layer, which I really like. The punches there, having somebody featured in the top. Love that. Really great way to trigger a call and response from everybody else. And then right there, having a feature moment, which is really nice. Doom, doom, doom to their transition, which is nice. Switching it through, I love the pull and the pull with more of the extroverted fullness of the kinesphere going towards the front. Switching down into a little reverse shootout, dropping it in. Notice I think the spacing on this is a little off. He needs to be a little bit further back to match this guy. Rolling it here, this looks, ooh, honestly, I think it's on both sides. He needs to also be back just a smidge to be in line with this person. In general, come up, because notice they just look a little too far in. I love this setup. Run down in. Part of me wishes we could see something be threaded through that position. Normally when you see that hold, something goes under or over, but to each their own, that's fine. Cool camera shot nonetheless. building the energy I really like, picking it up, a little bit of house influence on this. So it does have a tribal influence, it does give that as well. I do feel like because of the track, I don't think the track helped them as much as Sega Sammy's did, and that could factor into their scoring, I think. But there's not a lot of this as much as I feel. There's a lot of predictable choices that match the timbre and the tonal color of the track that I feel like if we made other choices within it, or the movement had not as much predictability with some of the staccato choices or legato choices, that could have really helped enhance this a little bit more. But that's mostly a preference thing than a critical thing. Also notice we are a little bit off in symmetry because we have a group of 3 and then a group of 3 and then a group of hold on 1 2 3 4 5, we have 8. Every group competes with 8. That's why I got super thrown off. So my gut tells me that this should be our center, right? Like right here in our middle group, because they're a group of an odd, and that's not what I'm seeing at all. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah. We have a group of 3 in the back, and then a group of 3, and then a group of 2. I have no idea who's supposed to be our center for this. Because if she's our center, then we would need to have all 4 of these individuals on this side, and she would need to be part of this group over here in order to maintain symmetry. But that's not what we're seeing really at all. I mean, it's pretty defined for the most part. I would say we have just a made up line right here with this guy, but other than that, I feel it's just an overall in general. I like this choice. Now it makes sense. They're making more of a circle, bleeding it up all the way around. This part is cool. That right there. I mean, that ending was super cool. It was sick. I like that. Ding, 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 ding. Nice and intricate. That boom with that push and pull of energy. That part matched a little bit more than I would say some of the other sections did. But I would say this affirmed it for me. I will, being honest, for myself, I would vote for SEGA SAMMY LUX. As I've analyzed both at this point. But yeah, my vote would go to SEGA Sammy for the reasons I had mentioned in comparison, but also I feel here that we had some disconnect with some of the musicality choices in general, because whenever you actually study music and you study the execution of the music on sound waves in comparison to how they're physically executing it, it's not matching as effectively as some other choices or other timbres if they were integrated into the track. That could have been really helpful. But my gut tells me this last judge may go for, she's a sucker for these types of concepts. So she may go for SEPTENI RAPTURES because she was such a fan of Leifel alt rhythm set. Truly. So I'm trying to think who else did this kind of set this time. Yeah, I'd say that if anybody, she may go for them, but I think audience is going for SEGA Sammy. But let's go ahead and let's watch the judges' commentary. So like I said, I think SEGA Sammy is going to win the match, and I think they're getting audience vote too. I will be surprised if they don't. But of course I'll be here listening to what they think.
Round 2, 6th match. SEGA SAMMY LUX versus SEPTENI RAPTURES.
Wow. Wow. Whoa. So I was right that the last judge was going for SEPTENI, and I was right that the audience was going for SEGA Sammy, but I was wrong, and who won? Wow. Okay. So look how close this is, 37-38. Interesting.
僕ルックスすごく大好きなチームで、いわゆるミドルスクールというか方針っていうのをベースに、それだけじゃないいろんな要素を入れてくれて、オールドスクールからの継承を今の時代にこううまく引き継ぎながら新しく進化していくっていう、すごくかっこいいチームだと思っていて、で今回も真ん中ベンチを置いてお立ち台2つあって、割と王道な見せ方で、だけどそれがすごく見やすかったんですよね。で見やすくて、
I agree with that. It was definitely more like predictable concept potentially from them.
かっこよかったんだけど、なんか最後見終わった後にこれという印象が残ってなくて、あれ途中何してたっけな彼らっていう感じがなんかちょっと自分の中であって、かっこよかったのにな。でもまあこうやって今ね映像で見るとかっこいいですよね。だからなんかこうなんで負けたのかわからない負け方をしてしまったという感じがあって、だからもしかしたらステージ 僕割とこうステージ生の方でずっと見てるので、照明だったりとかそういうものも関わってくるのかもしれないですけど、もう一個でもやっぱインパクトが欲しかったのかな、ルクスの方は。もう一個最後の方にドンというインパクトがあったら結果変わってたのかなって感じはします。で対するラプチャーズの方は、彼ら僕の中では割とオールドスクール系のチームだと思ってる。
I will say I was looking at it more from a more cleanliness standpoint. I do not think that their musicality played a bigger role to me in my choice over anything compared to the other group.
でしかもその見せ方が割と前衛的というか新しくて、まずそこに感動して、やっぱりダンス力のなんだろうな、自力もあって、ストリートコンテンポラリーみたいな、そういう新しさ、今までにないなんか新しさをすごく感じたので、本当に僅差でラプチャーズに入れました。
Street contemporary is what it's called. By a huge win. Whoa.
まあ始まって、ベンチを使って小道具使って始まるんですけど、今回何するのかなってちょっとこういつものまた違う感じで来たので、彼らのオハボであるヒップホップ JSB ズムともいますけども、
That's true. I'm not super exposed to this group nearly as much as the judges are. So there's a chance that they're probably, they're like, this is something that we've seen creatively from them before, at least in tension, in song, in essence. So I understand that too. I know that going in as well. Know that, yeah.
すごいもういろんなコスチュームで、変幻自在なルックスを見せてきたんですけど、で今回ちょっと抑え気味だと思うんですよ。まだラウンド2までしか見てないですけど、で、今回そのセットアップのエナメルというアートなすごくスタイリッシュなこうセットアップできたんですけど、ちょっと本当にこれ正直な感想っていうか、照明が帰りというんですかね、そのピカピカしてしまってちょっと動きが分かりづらかった。
Interesting. So it was a lighting issue. We were able to see it better because of the camera, but they had an issue watching it because of the lighting.
そこに当たってしまってちょっとこう腕の動きだったりとかちょっと分かりづらい部分があったのがちょっともったいなかったかなって。
How unfortunate.
一番最後ちょっとラインナップするところがあるんですけど、そこではっきりすごく見えたんですよね。
That the reason why they lost, one reason is because of their costume. Yo! Wow. I can understand it though. I understand that.
すごいかっこよかったです。またいろんなアプローチしてくると思うので、またこれから楽しみにします。はい。
You remember what I said though? I said it's going to come down to preference at the end of it. If they execute things in a concept,
中を見てたんですけど、
you know.
オーラは感じちゃったんですよね。もうその時点で。
So far it's sounding very preference based.
なんかかっこよくて、で、その今回コンセプトで一期っていうところで、前シーズンの悔しさというか、多分今回相当練習したんだろうなっていう、本人たちも言ってましたけど、何が違うのか前シーズンと、もちろん一人一人の能力っていうのはすごいんですけど、チームとしてのなんていうんですかね、覚悟じゃないけど気迫っていうんですかね、作品としてのオーラをしてバーンってこう食らうっていうか、見終わった後に。今日一僕ちょっと胸に刺さった作品でしたね。いろんなもう見せ方あるんですけど、前回は結構畳みかける感じだったんですけど、今回そのしなやかさと力強さをうまくこう、いわゆる緩急みたいな感じですかね。僕の使い分けがすごくかっこよくて。
Ooh, let me also say this for myself as well. Street contemporary is a style or genre of interpretation of this type of track I'm very, very familiar with. Most of my just choreos or choreos that vibe with my overall aesthetic are in the contemporary but street style technique realm. So I'm very familiar with it. So I am significantly more in tune with musicality on timbre, tonal color, and texture representation throughout the tracks. And I think that's why for me, because of my fluency in it, there was more reservation for me thinking that they were gonna pull out a win because of the reasons that I stated. So, but it's honestly, this is a preference game for this one, for sure.
ショーの中でされてたと思うんですけれども、それもされるなく、であとですね、こう斜めにダダダダダとこう膝を斜めに使った動きがあったと思うんですけれども、そこもすごく生きていて迫力もありましたし、ステージ全体を上手に使っているなっていう印象。
SEGA SAMMY got how much? They got 2 and then SEPTENI got 4.
すごく細かく
So, wow, SEGA SAMMY got only 1 judge and audience. Whew. Man.
ものすごく高かったと思います。ラプチャーズの方なんですけれども、衣装が言い方あれですけど、ちょっとボロボロのような
I did like their costume. They're freaking cool.
ところから始まって、それでも
Out of the 2 as well, I will say SEPTENI had better costumes that collaborated with their track choice and their movement quality better than what SEGA SAMMY brought.
フリースタイル
And as we're hearing, it cost them this round. It sounds like, at least with one of the judges.
広くて、で一人一人のダンスのスキルだったりとか、なんかその統一感、バランスがとてもいいなっていう印象で、それがショーとしての完成につながっているのかなと思いました。で、私はラプチャーズの方に入れさせていただきました。セガサミールクスの方に私は入れました。セガサミールクスは、パッションあふれる作品で、滝さんの心情を他の7人さんも表現されていたように感じたんですけども、8人とも
This section had a lot of complexity to it. I wish it was a different camera angle though. That section was so sick.
なんかさしてしまうことが多いんですけど、
That's
すごい
true.
視点誘導がとても上手な作品で、同じ衣装なの
That's a good point.
しっかりズームアップされて見れたのが
They're all wearing the same costume, but you can very clearly see who your feature is.
帽子を取られて、もう魂の
Love
感じるよう
that.
なファッションあふれる踊りになってからも本当に素晴らしかったので、私はセガサミールクスの方に入れました。で、対してセプテーニラプチャーズなんですが、すごく作品として面白かったなと思いました。なんか新しいセプテーニの世界を世界観が本当見れてとても興奮しました。でも中盤
I am noticing with these judges too, at least in this round, they're more forgiving on synchronicity than they are in performance and concept. I think they care about concept way more in this round, which is not always the case, because you know me, I actually care more about your skill set and your authenticity of your technique, because in my field that often gets overlooked and it gets overshadowed by performance, so I'm more of a stickler on it. I was right, she voted. I mean, it was a close call. I wasn't expecting it to be so close like it was here, but I like how it says Los Angeles, but I know it's Los Angeles. How this sounds like too is, do the judges judge both? Do they judge both after both go? I personally may not. I'm not really a fan of that personally, because that's say, oh, I want them to win, so I'm going to finagle my score to make it show that they win. I don't think that's objective, if that's really what's happening in these judges' scores.
こうニュージャックをメインにやられているチームだと思うんですけれども、こうスタイリッシュな動きと、エモーショナルな表現を今回は、メインに入れ込みながら、なおかつそれに、不自然さというものがなく、最初から最後まで
Honestly, every single battle match that happened ended in a 2-4, with the exception of 2. One was a complete shutout, and one was a 5-1. That could have very easily have been a shutout. Man, no ties this time. But I've been 6 for 6 on audience vote, so I'll take that.
ああいう感情の瞬間を本気で感じて見させてくれた。で、なおかつそこから徐々に構成を入れて肩にかけていくその流れ、なおかつこうスタイリッシュな振り付けを入れた中で、リアルな感情をミックスされていて、ダンスもしっかりと踊って ラストはライブかのようにエンターテインメント性もあり、すごくこう見応えのある終わり方、一人の子が椅子にジャンプして上がるあの技も本当に、集中力がないとできないことなので、あの一発でやりきったらもうすごいなと思います。ところどころこうマイケルみたいなドキドキさせる瞬間、ポージングにしてもパフォーマンスにしてもあって、それをまたこう今の時代に彼ららしく、表現をしてるのが私はすごく大好きでした。でもっともっとこれを諦めずに自信を持って体現し続けていってほしい。
So it does sound like one of the members of this group, this was his like interpretation of him as a person. I didn't get that, but I also am not familiar with the groups nearly as much, but I still understood that it was an individual being featured to kind of look within himself and this, that, and the other. So totally get it.
そのもがきというものが、世界観ですごくダンスで表現されていて、引き込まれました。で最初フードをかぶって登場してるんですけれども、そのフードの取り方も野生的で自分たちの内側を振り付けに体現していたり、曲も和のテイストで、その和のテイストの曲に合わせて衣装もミックスしていて、で途中ねなんかティンティンティンみたいな音だったと思うんですけれども、ちょっとなんか歌舞伎っぽい動きが
I can, yeah.
なんかね隠れて
I do like those choices. Those were cool.
和のテイストを入れ込んでいる、それが私の中ではとても面白く見させていただきました。でそれぞれユニゾンもありつつ個で見せる瞬間っていうのがあるんですが、その個の瞬間、そして2人で踊る瞬間とかっていうのもしっかり音にはまっていたり、自分たちの内なるエネルギーをセーブしないでしっかりと出せてるところが、私の中では点数として、高く入れたところとなります。で途中牙みたいな感じで男性の方が一人乗ったので、あの瞬間って立体感が見て、次何が起こるのだろうという何かしらのちょっと自分の中で期待というものがあった中でジャンプして次の振り付けに入っていったので、そこにもう一個ウェイみたいなひねりがあると、私の中ではこの作品パーフェクトだったと思います。で
Do I think it was perfect? No, I do not. I do not find this routine perfect. There's a lot of range discrepancies within this and how a lot of them chose to interpret it. Even that head at the end was a little off from some of them. Don't be throwing the word perfect on something. We all know it's not. But once again, though, it could just be a translation thing as well. Does it surprise me the judges picked Septeni? Yes, but does it surprise me the audience didn't, and that the last judge picked Septeni? No, that doesn't shock me at all because I guessed it. But yeah, that'll be very interesting. I do know there's probably more, they just have more awareness of these groups than I do. But it also goes back to my main point. You have to isolate it. Don't just go off of, okay, this group has done... I mean, you can say, okay, this group has done this concept before, then that can lower creativity. That should only just be like one category over the 5 that you're adjudicating, versus letting that affect the overall point or point values that you give. I really hope that they judge them separately and they don't put their scores in after both go. I'm really hoping that's the case, because I will not agree with that if they are waiting until both go and then they put the scores in. I don't think that's an appropriate way to adjudicate at all, personally, because it's because if that is really the case, then what's happening is that, oh, you prefer one over the other, so you're going to finagle your score to justify it. That's not fair, and that's not objective. So I'm going to assume until told otherwise. So if you happen to know this, please let me know if you do follow D.LEAGUE more intensely than I do. Do they judge them separately, and then in the commentary they do a comparison? Or do they wait and they judge them together, like the audience? Because the audience doesn't vote until after both go. So I know that, but all that to say, that does make me very curious. I do have some questions about that, but all in all, some of their points made sense, but it was a preference game at the end of the day based on the context of what they were saying, based on the translation that was given. So I also know that. We'll chalk it up to that for this round in particular. I also think with SEGA Sammy, I think that's just so freaking unfortunate that one of the judges literally was like, I went with SEPTENI because with SEGA Sammy, a lot of their movement got lost in translation because of their outfits. He has a valid point. If he's in the audience, if he's judging and he can't see what's going on because of those costumes, it makes total sense why he can't award for complexity of movement the way that I could, because I got a front row seat on the camera shots. And that's something we got to remember too, is we got the best seat in the house on these sets. These judges don't. They literally are in the back of the room and they only get one shot to see this in one angle. So there's that kind of thing. Now, if we were looking at these at a full cam, then we would be able to say some more similar things. But that's just an overall note. Still, both rounds, I mean, this round was fabulous. Round 1 was great, and I would say the matches for all of these are going to be great, and it just makes me more excited for more and more rounds to take place with some of these matchups, because, you know, when you get Crump versus, you know, it's just, yeah, like what we saw with like Crump versus Whacking Evoke, like that's freaking sick. It's nice to see that. And then having synchronicity versus synchronicity, or hip hop versus hip hop, like you're gonna get some really nice vibes. I would say, what was it? I think it was DYM Messengers and Value One's Infinities. Like that was a brilliant example of kind of some stuff we had talked about hip hop versus hip hop a little bit, which was super dope, and it makes me excited to see what round 3 has to offer. Woo woo! Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more D.LEAGUE, as I make it and as I play catch up on these rounds, you can find it on Patreon first, and then it does this nice slow peel out onto the YouTube over the weeks until I inevitably catch up to the rounds. Then what'll probably happen is, as I react to the rounds, I'll react to them as they get released from D.LEAGUE's YouTube channel, and then it will be a postponement until after the judges remarks come out. Then I'll make my videos, and then it'll get posted onto YouTube. So you'll probably end up getting like a week, possibly a week ahead on D.LEAGUE content on Patreon versus when it comes out on YouTube, just in the future. But right now we're playing catch up. Everybody's going to be kind of on the same page whether you're on Patreon or YouTube or not. But this has always been so fun for me. I love this league so much, because you want to see some high caliber, high quality routines back to back to back to back to back. This is the one for you. The fact that my videos for this, I always expect my matches, just a match, to take around 45 minutes to an hour just to film one match out of 6. So I am going to be spending a lot of time in this chair sifting through these routines, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love this. This is awesome. Once again, I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.